Hey friends, Joe here at Reverb, and today we're going to be talking about some guitar sounds of Jeff Buckley. We're going to be trying to achieve the clean, ethereal, lush sound from his album Grace, and we're going to be using some of the key ingredients that he was known to use, including, and maybe most importantly, his kind of secret weapon, this Alesis QuadraVerb. Let's get into it. Okay, before we get into the QuadraVerb, let's talk about the guitar. Quick disclaimer, like we make on all these videos, we go for a hybrid of what they used live, what they used in the studio, what they were known to use. You know, it's impossible to really say they used that thing on all these recordings. We know that he really did enjoy his Tele, and so we modded this one to garner up some of the spirit of Buckley here. This is what we're gonna go with. He was known to use a 1983 Tele that he had a few modifications on, including a hot stack pickup in the bridge. We got this early 2000s Tele, we put a hot stack in, and we put this chrome pickguard on to match his. Okay, let's talk about the amplifiers that Jeff liked to use. Live, he used a Fender Vibroverb for the clean stuff and a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier Tremoverb for the dirty stuff, and he ran all of that through a Mesa 412 cabinet. Today, since we're focusing more just on the clean stuff, we're running a Fender Vibroverb through our house cab, which is a Marshall 412. Okay, let's talk about this Alesis QuadraVerb. Obviously, this is a rack multi-effect unit, so it's a robust piece of gear. You know, reverbs, delays, chorus, it would have been most commonly used in a studio setting, maybe post-production, maybe front of house. The fact that Jeff Buckley used it literally in series with his guitar live just speaks to how important he felt it was in achieving his tone. Now on Grace, it was probably used in conjunction with other reverbs and other delays to create those wide sounds. But we know that he loved this thing because he literally used it from his guitar through this to an amp in a live setting. And we have it on the Taj Mahal setting, which Jeff was known to use. Within that preset, it is said that he made a few parameter changes, including a longer decay time on the reverb and more dry signal from the guitar. So we added that more decay time. We did add more dry signal, but this is an old unit and a very noisy unit. So what we did was we grabbed this old Blood Noise Endeavor's signal blender. So we have control over the dry signal of the guitar. Right now, the QuadraVerb is on fully wet, and we have, from the signal blender, control over the dry. Okay, first, let's just hear this QuadraVerb. And let's be clear, we're all very lucky to be hearing anything from it right now because it's not working very well. It's moody and old, and it decides when it wants to be around. Sounds amazing. Listen though. There's something else going on inside this QuadraVerb. Okay, let's do it. Hallelujah. Arguably Buckley's most famous recording, maybe his most famous performance. Specifically this intro. You can really hear the QuadraVerb doing so much here. Again, another disclaimer here. There could also be multiple reverbs happening like in the studio, in the processing and stuff, but we know that he loved the QuadraVerb, so we're gonna assume and we're gonna talk about the magic there. First, I wanna talk about the very gentle touch here, and it's a touch with dissonance, which is allowing for all this mystery and this mood. The reverb is decaying this dissonance underneath the next chord, and the way that that dissonance, in this case a tritone, reacts with the reverb is, it's a haunt. I mean, it's a full-on feeling. Also, let's just hear the decay. I'm just gonna play one note and we're gonna hear how long this decay actually is. Just stopped hearing it there. Okay, so even with a gentle touch, all that space with these dissonant tones is just unsettled ground underneath what is the melody of the chorus. Right, that's the Alleluia melody, but this tritone underneath one note that is unsettling everything in such a way that, to me, it brings the listener in a lot more. It makes you much more interested in that melody and what's going on. Because even if you don't speak musical terms, somewhere in your body you're feeling that that's a beautiful melody, but there's something else going on there. The other thing that's going on there is that dissonant note, that tritone. And then the other thing that's going on there is the QuadraVerb decay. It's grabbing that note and saying, yeah, things are still not really okay, even though this is very beautiful. That is amazing resolution. Then the other aspect in this intro that I wanted to talk about, we talked about this very gentle and dissonant touch at the very beginning. The chord that he hits right before going into the actual form of the song, just the Leonard Cohen changes, is this much more aggressive strike on an upbeat right before hitting the verse form of the song. So this is a masterclass in dynamic playing for sure. Very gentle, dissonant, and then setting that stage so that an aggressive, highly excited attack can mean that much more because of where it came from, which is this tiny little dissonance. Goes to the 4 chord, ramping up a little bit, and then so it's that 5 chord right before the 1, that D shape right before the G shape here. It's like a portal. It opens up into the verse, and you hear that cascade over the first 3 rounds of phrasings of the 1 major to 6 minor. Absolutely incredible use of harmonic language, but again, the tools that were used made it so that the harmonic language could mean that much more and cascade through the other chords, creating technical dissonance, but in this case, it's a much more pleasant kind of hopeful dissonance rather than like a sinister or a darker dissonance like the beginning. For those of you at home looking to try to do something like this, obviously you don't need a QuadraVerb to achieve that. You know, you can go after a Strymon Big Sky or a Meris Mercury 7, a Universal Audio, Golden Reverberator, any of these, you know, hi-fi digital reverbs. You'll be able to get those to react to your playing in a similar way. Those of you who are interested in the QuadraVerb, I will say that it is not just a reverb. It's a one-stop for many effects. You know, it's chorus, it's reverb, it's delay, and it's not just the Taj Mahal setting that Buckley seemed to have loved. It's much more. So let's scroll through and play some other stuff. It's worth mentioning here that a lot of rack units are kind of like intense and maybe even intimidating to like make parameter changes easily. This is really pretty self-explanatory and very intuitive. Like all these effects have kind of their own buttons. We just, you know, dialed in chorus reverb and added delay really quickly, dialed it in, changed the time, changed the decay. It's pretty simple to like make moves quickly. QuadraVerb, a legendary little piece of rack gear in no small part thanks to the way that Jeff Buckley used it on Grace. I hope this inspires you to think about this kind of reverb, this kind of long decay, and more importantly, or more deeply, I guess, how to use that as world-building material for your composition. With the right dissonance, the right kind of decay, creates a whole new harmonic setting for a dissonant note. We learn the language of music, we learn how to introduce dissonance or tension within a chord, and that's wonderful. To combine that with something that is taking that note and dragging it across other things that otherwise would be consonant brings that much more of a special dynamic to your performance, as it did with Buckley, obviously. Thanks so much for watching. Love doing these videos. Let us know what we should do next, and have a great day. See you next time.